Karen, what do we need to consider when working with a First Nations community for the first time?
Each nation is different, and I've had the privilege of working with First Nations communities coastal, where their stories and their dreaming, their stories are based around the sky and the sea, and their heritage is in the sea country as well as the land. I've spent time working with people, with desert people, out towards Buckenji people, and their stories are different again. And of course, Wiradjiru people of the rivers. And again, their culture and heritage is entirely different. And they all have their own ways of being and doing on country. So I think that's really critical, to understand and to expect differences and not to assume sameness, right? And when we begin to work with a community, to go, I guess, with the hat of a learner, that we are always learning, and to understand too that the leadership and the demographic makeup of communities is also different. Appreciating differences and affirming those cultural differences, understanding the demographics within a community. And when I say that, I mean, is it a young community? Has it, have many of the people moved there? Has it been a community where Aboriginal people have had to come off their reserves and missions and relocated? Places like Wagga and Albury are good examples of that. So understanding the demographics. Most of our communities, unlike non-Aboriginal communities, most Aboriginal communities are young communities. So there are high numbers of young people and families as opposed to older Aboriginal people. And also the movements of people around country, because often that determines marriages and family alliances. So Wiradjiru people have certain communities that they've moved around, and there are high numbers of Wiradjiru people who have married people within those communities that they have traditionally visited. So understanding the demographics is really important. Understanding their culture and the history, especially the history. Some of our communities, actually many of our communities, have reserves or missions, and they are really important to the heritage of those people. There are people who have gained ownership of those places and who have returned to live there, even though the history has been really negative. So I'm talking about places like Brungle, Walliga Lake Mission, Irambi Mission just outside Cowra. So understanding the history, and also the history of how organisations such as our own throughout the past have related to those communities. Have they gone in there and said, well, we know what's best for you? Or have they gone in there assuming, full of assumptions, or being patronising? So it's really important just to listen and to understand the history of those places. Have organisations gone in there and promised the earth and let our people down? So it's about gaining as much information as you can about that community, and you do that through research, but you also do that in getting to know the people.
Karen, could you give us some tips about communications and networking with an Aboriginal community?
I think listening and being prepared to take your time to listen. Some people call that deep listening, but deep listening is about listening and honouring the stories. And that's related to my previous comments about the things you need to know and how to gain knowledge in working with a community. So it's about that deep listening and spending time getting to know the people. As in the past, trust can be difficult, depending on what has happened to that community. So sometimes trust with our mob takes a lot longer, and that's to be expected sometimes. So it's about listening and building that trust and being realistic in what you can support, getting to know the leaders in that community and the organisations. So in most of the areas that we work with, there are Aboriginal medical services, there are Aboriginal corporations, there are local Aboriginal land councils, and they are great resources and important to get to know because they can provide guidance to us in our communities. Another more recent resource are Aboriginal liaison officers with local councils. So most regional cities in New South Wales, most large townships, councils will have an Aboriginal liaison officer, and they are great resource people because they will often have a map, if you know what I mean, a mental map of the people who ought to be consulted. So for instance, just an example, most communities will have here in Bathurst, they have an amazing Aboriginal interagency committee that meet here at CSU. They also have an Aboriginal liaison officer at the City Council. They also have an Aboriginal elders group, and our elders are really important in the work that they do. And they work with city councils, town councils, they'll work with schools, with most large organisations, and they are the leaders of our mob, they are the leaders of our community. Not everyone, not all older Aboriginal people are elders. Elders are recognised for their community leadership. So they are the people who are honoured and who have the responsibility in those positions. So getting to know who's who. And if there are not those resource organisations in smaller communities, getting to know people can be more difficult. So very often you'll find schools have an Aboriginal support person, and they too can be wonderful people, especially as cultural mentors. And cultural mentors just provide that guidance on how to get to know the community. And they will often provide you with the history of that community and also the issues that are important. So it's, there are lots of resource people out there. It's just about taking the time. And of course, it takes a lot longer to work with our mob, building that trust and spending time to listen. But that's the best way to work.
Karen, what are some of the key principles about project development with Indigenous communities?
To fully understand the context of the project that they might be interested in and why they might be interested in, and all of the backstory in relation to that community. So spending time listening and building that trust. So when we think about the timeframes of all the other projects that we might be working with, non-Aboriginal projects, you often find that it takes a lot longer and you have to work more slowly with our mob. It's about not making assumptions. That's really important. Not making assumptions that they think the way you do, because we have our own way of being and doing. And for us, even things like the concepts that you might take for granted, being able to, isolate issues, the way many of our people think, everything is interrelated. So, if you're talking about country, we're talking about sea country or river country and land country. And we're talking about our health and our well-being. We're talking about family and community. And we can't separate all of that from country. And so, you have this tendency, non-Aboriginal people, Western ways of thinking, a very rationalistic, wanting to put things in diagrams. But, for us, it's about relationships, and everything is interrelated. The other thing too I forgot to mention is, as you get to know people, share something of yourself, because reciprocity is really important when you're working with community. That sharing of yourself, so they get to know the real person that they're relating to. So yes, timeframes, as I've mentioned, not making assumptions, being a learner, and understanding that there are different concepts between cultures. And so many of our communities think differently, and find it an affront when you want to start separating. Really importantly, because of our history and the experiences of working with organisations in the past who want to stereotype our people or who think they know best, is self-determination. That we know best, that our community knows best about what their people need. And that self-determination needs to unfold throughout the whole co-design project. And if their design does not look like the design of others, that's fine. And that's to be expected. So you'll find that some stages of that process is much longer, and sometimes that can be unexpected, but it's about going with the process. Yeah. And so self-determination throughout is really important. And finally, I've always thought of myself when I'm working in positions between our community and an organisation, is that we are advocates. We are advocates for the people that we work with. And regardless of organisation expectations, sometimes we have to advocate on behalf of those people. And I think that's really important. And actually, it's about advocating with those people.